Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and Rashid.
Yo, yo.
Yo,
Hey.
Dallas.
How you doing?
What's up, man?
We're doing good, Dallas. It's good to talk to you.
Can you tell the difference between me and Peter's voice?
Yeah, can you?
No, not really. No.
You haven't heard him.
Good.
You haven't heard him enough. Anyway, let's talk
That's
about
funny.
Dallas. Normally, Dallas, we call our other brother Rashid.
Yeah.
And we say Rashid, but Rashid can't be with us today because he's finishing up some truck driving school and it's kind of getting close to the end. So anyway, we're talking to you,
Oh, nice.
Dallas.
All
Yes.
right. Well,
Yeah.
Because you're an amazing guy.
I'm honored. Well, I hope I have something worthwhile to say.
We hope
you
so
do.
too.
Oh, we know you
I'm
do
just
because you're
kidding.
doing some amazing things, and I'm inspired. We're inspired. We're impressed, and we want to let all 15 people that listen to this podcast know more about that.
Number's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. We're growing.
Inflation.
We've grown 50%.
Oh, wow.
in the last
Making those
month
dividends.
or so.
That's great.
I mean,
We're kidding. We don't even know.
if we keep growing at 50%, man, goodness gracious.
Yeah,
that's
really.
just amazing. Anyway, Dallas, Dave knows what you do. I don't actually really know exactly what you do and who you work with and all the awesome stuff you're doing. And you don't necessarily have to try to convince us that it's awesome, but maybe can you tell us what you do and who you work with?
Yeah.
Or like, first of all, how many instruments
Or
do you
not.
play? First of all, how many instruments do you play?
Dave wants to
Play
show
well
everyone that
or
you're awesome.
play?
How many instruments can you sit down and play something, or at least discernible?
I don't know. I mean, I have to be able to at least function on the orchestra instruments, but I'll never I'll never perform them live. Other than for the classroom and just like So I play some bass, cello, violin, viola, but not very well, to be honest. I just found for those instruments, you really have to spend your life on them to be even decent. You have to just spend your time, hours a day, and so I choose not to do that.
Right.
So, so those really don't count.
But
But
you're-
just basically rhythm section instruments, rhythm section.
Yeah, you're very
My
comfortable
major in
on the
school is
guitar,
percussion. Yeah.
electric guitar, even lead guitar, keys, piano, and drums. At least those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my major in school is percussion, so I'm actually picking it back up. I got super inspired here, and that vibraphone player that we heard at the grocery store last week, and so I'm picking that back up. But that was my major in school,
Cool.
vibraphone, percussion,
Oh, wow.
and so so basically just rhythm section instruments.
You actually had kind of the Whiplash movie experience on the drums in school at one point, sort of, yeah?
Oh yeah. I went in. I've always been. This sort of seems to be my, just my motive, just the way things go with me. For whatever reason, background, upbringing, I started late, and I just jumped full in to a pretty well esteemed music school that was pretty rigorous, and I didn't know how to read music. I just played drums in youth group, and so
All right.
I just jumped in and basically spent 4 years, 8 hours a day practicing, trying to catch up to everybody else. And so, I became a little obsessive, and I know it, I know there's some great things that came from it, but probably some things, still I'm shedding off every now and then. But the Whiplash experience was, I had an angry Buddhist. I hope he never hears this, but I had a sort of an angry. He's Buddhist, but he was a very angry Buddhist, and would cuss us out if we missed notes. And percussion music is it's not just playing drums, you know, it's the marimba, it's the you know, glockenspiel, it's the vibraphone, it's all sorts, and it's where it gets its complexity is the rhythms. So where other instruments might get their complexity from technicality, you know, the technical aspect of things. Although there's definitely some technical aspect to playing all the different percussion instruments. The complexity lies in well, two things I would say, probably the subtleties and the rhythms. You know, so you're playing like, you know, Indian music, and Indian as in you know, India,
From
Indian
India,
music
yeah, right, the country.
from India, yeah, and stuff's like, you know, 5/4 time to 7/8 to 6/3, and then, you know, or 6/2, and then it just jumps all over the place, and you know, so that was pretty rigorous, and yeah, he wasn't too patient, especially probably with you know, a beginner that didn't know what he was doing. But I was committed though, and yeah.
Well, and you have
the practice room.
You know, you don't just have when you're playing percussion, especially you know, with some of these instruments like a doumbek or something
Tabla.
else. There's a tabla, right? It's not just the pace that you're dealing with, you know, to talk about rhythm in another way, but there's a tone. There are tones that you can produce that can actually they can either cooperate and connect with the music that's being played, or they can clash with it, right? And so that's what you're talking about, the subtlety of even creating like melodic rhythms that add another layer of I don't know, entertainment or just
timbre,
pleasing sound to the ear, right? I mean, so you got to learn that too. I mean, that's a lot of stuff, and that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody. You got to learn that all at once.
Well, yeah, to give you an example, I mean, my first semester, we spent, and I guess everybody spends their first semester, at least at this school, at least an hour or two a day. You go into a room, you basically, you know, the idea is that if you're right-handed, you're going to do everything stronger with your right hand, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's funny because there are people that would spend, you know, their time there trying to be ambidextrous, and is that how you say it, ambidextrous?
Yeah, yes, that's right.
And I think so. And so yeah, they like anything from grabbing the door handle to you know, shaking people's hands, everything. And, you know, they try to switch it up to get their hands even. And so the first semester, you sit in a room and you play a single snare drum with the snares off, you know, where it's just a tone, and you stare at a mirror and you literally spend hours a day playing singles, just right, left, and you know, you get into a zone where you no longer hear your attack, you hear the tone, and you hear the echo of the room, how's the room responding, and you do that for you know, 6 months, and you know, hopefully your hands come out even. So it's all the subtlety, like I said. It's it's pretty rigorous, and but it was, you know, it was worth it. I ended up, you know, I'm not doing much on percussion or drums, but every instrument has those things, has those basic elements.
That's right.
And if you can figure out what makes that thing the thing, then and that's the purpose of college anyway, is to figure out, you know, things, and how to figure things out on your own. And so my takeaway from percussion school is that you know, if I approach a new instrument, or if I'm trying to do something, what makes the thing, you know, and that it's core level.
Right.
So you're doing teaching now, right?
Well, he's doing teaching. Okay, so he's been a student and he's become a teacher, but he's also a performer. So we'll get into his teaching in just a little bit, but tell us a little bit about the performance side of things, real quickly. You've got a band that you formed with a couple friends. What's the name of the band?
Mm-hmm. The name of the band is Anamkara.
And what language is that?
It's an old Gaelic. It means a soul brother.
Soul brother.
And what's that word again? Anamkara?
Anamkara. Anamkara. A-N-A-M. And Kara. C-A-R-A. Yeah.
Anamkara.
And it's it means soul brother. And so, you know, it really is descriptive of what the band's goal is. And we haven't played much because of COVID, but we still practice. We still write. I try to write, you know, a song a week. You know, even if it stinks, I still try to write. But we get together about once a week and practice, and we're working on an album right now, and it's just a long time. Things don't go as fast as you want them to, and you're not 20 anymore, and you're not living at home, and
Yeah.
or so, and you have kids, so things
Right.
things take 20 times as long. But we're in it for the long haul. What's the cool thing about it is that, and I tell the guys we play out. I mean, if you need to take a break, take a break. I'm in this for friendship and for creativity for the long haul. I'm not trying to, although it would be nice to gain influence. I'm more in it for just the collaboration and creativity, because there's nothing like being with a band of brothers and just like, here's an idea, let's develop it
It's
and
true.
let's go after it.
So y'all explore some musical ideas. It's kind of an experimental rock, spiritual vibe where you
Sure.
play Rhodes piano and other keyboard things, and you have a lead guitarist and a rhythm guitarist and drums.
Yeah, and we dabble in different styles. I think our bass player, he's very good with words. He said we're a cosmic, spicy mix of funk and rock, and so that's his description of it. And so yeah, we like the big anthemy, vocals mixed with riffs that groove, and the Radiohead sentiment of sort of the ostracized, not really fitting into society and and society norms, societal norms,
Yeah.
but without being, self-deprecating or
Hopeless
or
something.
hopeless, or like,
Yeah.
to trying to draw attention to ourselves. It's who we are, we're just sort of like, we just sort of, not misfits even, but, sort of just out of the box kind of thinkers who want to create and like hanging out.
And stumble into the transcendence.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's a good sound. Check them out.
Yeah,
Anam Cara. So you've been a teacher. So you've been a student. You're still a student. You never cease to be a student in all these things, and you're a performer. And now, what keeps the lights on and keeps you putting food on your plate for your family, because it's not exactly coming from the band right now, is the teaching portion. So, and you said you needed to know all the orchestral parts, and there's a reason for that, and that's because you're teaching students where?
Well, I spent the last 6 years at a middle school, and I guess in order to talk about where I'm at now, I have to talk about where I've been. So I was at a middle school here in Austin for 6 years, and there's a huge testimony about how that happened. From doing construction and, leading worship part-time at a church, and really being frustrated where where my life was, having a newborn, and, not really knowing what I was going to be doing with my life, and it's Ohio, and we're from Ohio, and there's not too many opportunities for creativity and even teaching in Ohio. And so I guess there's a wait list right now because of the exodus of people. At least there was 10 years ago.
Oh, right.
To get into the teaching program. So at most universities, because there's just a overabundance of teachers. So it just, all I could say, without getting into the 20-minute long story of how we got down here, is that, through just some praying and declaration, God opened up some doors for us to come down. We came down. I met some people that opened a door for me up to start doing after-school programming, and developed relationships with the principals, and they liked what I was doing and how I was with the kids, and they offered me a job. And I went back and got certified. My degree was more performance based. I got certified to teach, and then for I guess this middle school I was at, they had tried numerous times to start orchestras there. One of the last teachers they had was from the Austin Symphony, a great guy, but since he had left, I guess in 2000 or 2003 or four, there had not been an orchestra there. They'd started and it just fizzled out because, and so the sentiment was there when I got there, well, you can do guitar, but, orchestra doesn't work for these kids. It's the Dobie kids. It's the mostly transient, mostly, immigrants, blah, 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 and the list goes on. And it's not going to work. So that's to me just sort of lit a spark or a fire in me. Like, well, if you say I can't do it, then I want to. It's going to happen. So I waited 2 years and I begged the fine arts director at the downtown Austin ISD, and I'm like, hey, give me a shot. I'll do it. I'll learn the instruments. And so he gave me a shot. We started with 12 people, and then over 6 years, we grew the program to about 130 students.
Whoa.
Goodness.
And
That's
so
amazing.
and so we started with nothing, and that was the whole deal. He gave me an opportunity. He said, well, we'll give you one class, but I can't give you any instruments. And so I'm like, okay, I'll do my due diligence, and I'll just go around Austin begging for instruments. So, a lot of generous people donated, and then I got hooked up with an organization called Soundwave.
Okay.
And I still work with them today, and they're an amazing organization. And they basically taught me how to play all these instruments and what you need to do. And you have all sorts of people that lead orchestras or bands, and most of the people that lead bands or orchestras in these places, they don't play every single instrument proficiently, and so you have experts come in. And so maybe you understand your instrument like you went to school for, and then you have an understanding, maybe just it's not very thorough, but it's at least an understanding of the other instruments in the band or orchestra. So I was very fortunate to have this group come in as experts and take students one-on-one privately. Out of 120 students, they might take the top 15 for the week in private lessons.
Wow. And
And they did that free of charge. And so I grew with the students, to be honest. And after 6 years, I'm pretty proficient. But I'm not gonna, like I said earlier, I'm not gonna perform those instruments live because, they're very unforgiving. String instruments, the fretless,
yes.
the fretless instruments are so unforgiving. So,
Yeah.
but they are still involved. They followed me over here. I wrote a grant for some more instruments, and I ended up getting a $10,000 grant 2 years ago. So everything, there's still like 100 instruments over at Adobe where I left. And I saw a lot of my guitar students going to the high school theater and coming back and hanging out because there wasn't a program here. I'm currently at Northeast High School, which is formerly Reagan. My students would come back and just hang out in my room and just be like, yeah, mister, there's no program and this and this. And they'd come back and they'd play with us, and so I just thought that was sort of an injustice. Like these kids, are getting really good. They're playing high school level music. We're getting awards. We're getting trophies for our performances on guitar. And they're going to a high school and there's no program because it's just sort of fizzled out. And so, I just started declaring like I'm going to be the director there. I'm going to build over at Northeast High School and to what it once was, because it used to have a thriving program. I looked through the old files, and some students were in here yesterday. Some former Adobe students that are now my students. And they were in the closet and they were looking at old trophies like 1985, 1986, 1992 is like the newest one.
Wow.
And I'm actually looking at them right now, like 1979. And so like this place is like needs revived, and it needs, because there's a stigma. The stigma is, the poor kids, can't do orchestra because whatever reasons,
Well, and the whole school couldn't perform and couldn't make the grades so long that it lost its name. I mean, it had to be renamed and reconfigured.
Yeah.
So,
and if you even look at the outside of the school, you see all the football accolades. And Friday Night Lights was actually filmed here the first season.
Oh wow.
The big football stadium outside. Yeah. But all the awards and all the trophies for football even say, 2000, 2001. I mean, so it's been like 20 years of a constant decline. And I just take that as a challenge, like, because these students can do anything, anything anybody else can do. And it's just like, have they been given the opportunity? Have they been shown what's possible? Then, it's, of course, COVID hit this year and it put a stop on everything. But I really believe it's possible for these students to achieve like incredible things.
Man,
Dallas
Shreve, man. This we're out of time for part 1, and we just wanted to keep this going. So come back for part 2 with Dallas Shreve next week on the Nevcast. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.